do a Q&A. So during the presentation, if you think of some burning questions that you want to ask, feel free to ask them when the Q&A comes up. So, introductions. So, for those who don't know, I'll obviously cover this pretty quickly. DayZ is an open world survival horror mod for Arma 2. Since April 2012, we've logged 1.3 million unique players. Really, that represents a pretty awesome achievement for the team that kind of made DayZ possible. So I obviously worked really hard on the mod itself, but in order to achieve that number, there's guys a lot of people will know, like Hander and Viper and Matt Lightfoot, all the forum mods, and all the server providers and hosters. Those are the people who've really made that possible. And it's pretty amazing when you think about it, that many people to play a mod in less than 6 months. And I really do think that a lot of that is really down to the community that have taken up the DayZ concepts, and you see that's kind of gestated now and has come out in these private hives. So, and also there is our concurrent peak, which is about 82,000 players. It's a bit hard to figure out that number because of we don't really track the online concurrence, but that's our best guess. It's obviously dropped down quite a lot now with, with a lot of people have found that the mod has reached a point where, there's no real end game content. It was only really designed to have basically a few hours gameplay. So I think a lot of people are taking a pause at the moment, trying things like the private hives, and obviously waiting to see what happens with Standalone, which is why we're all here now. So, yep, me, Dean Hall, and I work at Beam Interactive. And there's a really nice picture there too of the crossbow, for those who didn't see it. This is by one of the artists who'd actually been helping out for free on DayZ for some time, making some models. And that is the new in-game model that's going to be in it. It's really cool crossbow. The new crossbow is one of my favourite weapons. So, not necessarily super effective, but it's really fun. Perhaps surpass them to get a chainsaw. I love chainsaws. So the now. So this is kind of following sort of Scrum. This is a mixture of what we've been working on and what we're doing at the moment. So the way I describe what DayZ Standalone is going to be, and for easier terms, when I'm talking about DayZ now, because someone on Reddit brought up the good point, what are we going to call DayZ Standalone? I'll refer to DayZ Mod as DayZ Mod, and DayZ Standalone will just be DayZ. So DayZ is going to be a combination of BI's experience across all its products. And I think that's one thing that's really exciting about the studio, and that was why I went with them, is because there is just this massive experience with Arma 3, with take on helicopters, with all the Arma 2 products. So we're going to draw on all those assets, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. So over the last few weeks, I've been going through saying, these models look cool, the take on helicopters, helicopter dynamics. If anybody wants to find the frustration of trying to start up your helicopter, go try out take on helicopters, because it's really a lot of work to figure it out, and it's pretty awesome. Fly around Seattle. So we're taking all that and we're making this standalone out of it. We've really looked at the distribution pipeline, and that's what's been set up and running now. The aim being that when on the development team, when we want to release a build, we push a button, that goes through to our digital distribution channel, and you guys receive it. We think that that will really make it a lot easier for us to push development forward. We don't have to worry about when the releases are made. We can push them out much easier. So that's done. And the priorities that we've got, the big one is securing against the ease of hacking. I really go on about it a lot, and everyone loves me talking about hacking because of my New Zealand accent, because I say hacking and exploiting. So that's, I can't stress enough. We know that that's really important, and we know this because every second post on the forums is about it, and my Facebook is like vandalised with hacking messages. So that's really awesome. So my mum knows there's a problem with hacking a Standalone. I won't get any Christmas presents unless I fix it. So yeah, we know about that one. And the other thing is fixing bugs. The exploiting, and that has been quite a challenge for us because we really have to re-engineer how armour works. And I'll cover these off individually in the next few slides. The other really big one is performance. And not a lot of people mention this, but we think it's really important because with the standalone, we want to deliver a really polished experience. This is one that we're taking an approach not just from code, but also our art assets, and I'll cover off on that later. But this is really sort of what's been leading up to this point. So discussing about hacking. So with DayZ, one of the curious things, and I don't think it's really been covered, is that for us, piracy didn't exist. So we know every one of those 1.3 million players had at least partially a legitimate copy of Armour 2. That's pretty amazing when you think about it. And also there was, we did that without some kind of ridiculous DRM that really irritates and annoys you, because the reason there was no piracy was because you needed a unique ID. So we're kind of providing value there, and I think that's a really good anti-piracy mechanism that I like. Like if it's bundled with value, then that's okay. It does put an onus on us to make sure the product is reasonably priced, though. I just think that's a really interesting point. What that allowed us to do was focus our efforts on the hacking and the exploits. Because we don't have our business people sitting around going, well, yeah, we've got hacking and exploits, but we need to deal with piracy. We don't have that issue. So the approach we've taken is on 3 pillars. The first one is to protect the data. I guess I shouldn't get too technical about it. One of the big reasons that we have a problem at the moment is that people can inject scripts. Armour is a very trusting engine because of what it was designed to do. We've gone through our lead programmer, Andra Spaniel. He's like a genius. Those who know the Armour franchise will know this guy is a legend. A lot of people criticise the engine, but I really think that if you look at what that engine does and you look under the hood, and I have, there is some real magic there. And what we want to do with the standalone is bring that magic out. And I like to think that the DayZ mod has given a glimpse of what would be possible if we just tidy up the edges around the design. So that's the first part. Lock the data down, and that's done. The second part is that we're going to log everything, and this is something we've been experimenting with the standalone. And we're going to talk with our server hosters and how we're hosting the central hive, and set up a method of auditing all that, so that even if we don't catch the hacking in the first instance, we'll be able to catch it when we go through the audit trail that it leaves behind. Then finally, we utilise the resources available to us, such as database bans, utilising things like VAC on Steam, and things like that to, I guess, police the restrictions. I want to be very clear at this point that hacking is the issue for this project. We know it's an issue. We play it too. I get just as many frustrated people in the studio come up to me and say, what the hell's going on? Where are dogs? Why isn't hacking fixed? As I do from regular, just people in the forums. One awesome thing about the project is that in travelling around, I've been able to talk to really supportive people from awesome places like Valve, Notch from Minecraft, CCP, and they have all given heaps of advice, and we're going to get them early builds and get their feedback. So we're really blessed really to have this just awesome input from just all other people. I was talking to Philippe from KSP, and he just had some really awesome feedback, and I can't rave about that game any more than I already have. And so I'm just really feeling that that's been really helpful for our development, and I think that that's going to help us deal with particularly this hacking issue. I'm sure I better get some good questions on this in the Q&A. So optimization. I think optimization is going to help us with many problems. So to give an example of one area that we're focusing our optimization on is the zombies themselves. At the moment, they're using Arma 2's player models, which are designed to do very complex things. They have very complex materials, very complex textures. One of our really awesome artist gurus has been working on Arma 3 Vespa. I think yesterday on Skype, he was doing a test for me, and we discovered a way that will dramatically decrease the FPS usage for zombies. So that's a really key and tangible thing that we can do to tidy things up. So there it goes there. Heavily optimized our zombie models, world-based optimization, and code and design optimizations as well. So our goal here is to make it run better, make it look better, and hopefully make it work better as a result of that. A lot of people have been critical of us not jumping on board with Arma 3, but the way the BI engines, the BI products work is really we can take on helicopters and we can draw in this inspiration and ideas. We've got this awesome team. I hope we can do like a little webisode and actually introduce people to the team, like Andra, Jurka, and Bebel. I probably pronounced their names completely wrong because my cheek's not awesome. But these guys, I can't rave about them enough. We hope to get some content on this on the Tumblr as soon as we can. I'm really pretty excited about what we're going to be able to put out there. So the future, and I guess this is what everybody wants to know about. Our real push is towards authenticity. I've talked about this on the forums, and I'm going to give a few tangible little stuff that I haven't given in a slide shortly. So those are the three pillars that I'm really focusing on. Authenticity, the tension involved with the player, and the freedom. We've got some radical ideas planned. I have to be honest, I don't know how they're going to work out, and that's the idea of this alpha process. We stabilise the standalone, we put some radical ideas in, and we find out how it works. So how are we going to do this? We're going to focus on medical and survival. We're going to introduce this new antagonist, this sort of silent, passive antagonist. We're going to redevelop the zombies. They're another real key focus. Not just graphically, but within the engine. So at the moment, the zombies are based on soldier AI. So they try and outflank you, and they run in zigzags. And the animations are designed to do something different from what we're trying to do with. So that's why we're completely revamping that. And then there's a big focus on equipment and inventory. Everybody knows the reason for that, because in DayZ, your leveling is everything. Your XP bar is your inventory screen. So I've mentioned before, scrapping that inventory screen completely. We've even been looking at entirely scrapping the module that we use to even provide UI. So those I guess are, to give people takeaways, those are the three that we're really looking at. So what I'm talking about in terms of this medical and survival aspect is we really want to introduce this idea of the survivor versus the wild. At the moment, a lot of DayZ hipsters will realise that it's really easy to survive. Once you've figured out the quirks and then you can kind of run through the buildings and get away, it's really easy to survive. We want to take that away completely. I like to think of your player's body and the environment as the real antagonist in DayZ. So there's been a really good thread on the forums, which one guy went through, compiled a whole bunch of ideas, did a really good analysis. So I read through that, and that really struck a chord with me. Those were the things that I wanted to do on the original vision. And they're things we can do with the standalone that don't require us to reinvent the wheel too much. And that's why these are a real key part of what we want to do. So things I can confirm, and I am being suitably vague about, I think I mentioned this later on as well, about things, because when I release a standalone, I want to be able to say, here are these cool new mechanics I've designed, and not find that somebody else has put them in somewhere else. So I accept that I'm trying to find a suitable level of vagueness. If people think I'm being too vague, they can feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. But new fracture types. So one example is breaking your ribs, combined with the more complex damage model, depending on where you're taking damage. I mentioned about the inventory system before, so we've been pushing towards making, and I just realised it was just about to get super technical there, but at the moment our references to weapons is very simple, because armour doesn't need to track a lot of things with the weapons. We want to turn them into actual objects so that the weapon has durability, the weapon can jam, all those kinds of things. You know, your night vision goggles has batteries. If you get hit in the head, if a player's shot in the head, then their night vision goggles will be very badly damaged. And when you go to pick them up, you'll see, oh, well, they're really badly damaged. And as I mentioned on the forums the other day, I think these aspects alone will radically change the DayZ experience. And I prefer this approach than penalising the free-for-all PvP. I think that if we build these kinds of things around the experience, that it will round out that PvP experience. Now, I don't know whether I'm right, but I think that this is a much better approach to take rather than having PvE servers and all that kinds of stuff. Because the real core experience is the tension that DayZ provided, and that's provided by the other players. It's a bit of an experiment. So I mentioned there malaria, cholera, dysentery, and this third one is one that maybe you'll cop a little flack for, and we'll have to see how it goes, which is no flashy UI, watching for cues. So an example being, I think Stefan, the other day in our motion capture studio, was filming vomiting animations, which is probably one of the more unique motion captures that I've done. So, you know, having to figure out how sickness is affecting your character, and then we're hoping that will create these really unique situations in your group. One of your group members sick, what does he do? There is an issue with with lack of UI that was brought up by a user on Reddit who said that, you know, deaf players, obviously that creates an accessibility problem. The proposed solution that we have at the moment, it's not been coded, so I can't confirm it, but we really want to do it, is that for deaf or hearing impaired players, or those who don't have speakers, that there will be an option, sort of a hearing impaired option, that will disable all sound and replace them with some kind of UI. So we want to kind of avoid exploits, but support that as well. So I don't want those who are hearing impaired to think that we're leaving them behind there. So we'll just have to see how that goes. So this is the end state that I want to see, and someone posted on the forums about having players pooing, and we all had a good laugh. And then I sat down and I thought about it, and it kind of nagged me for a few days, and I just kept telling myself, no, you know, just forget about it, it's just funny. But then I thought about it, we want to have, and we haven't decided completely, I'm still doing some trial and testing with it, but a vague concept we've been working around is wouldn't it be cool if the areas that the players are congregating and, for example, say, you know, pooing, is places that can spread disease. So a lot of people hang around Cherno. What if Cherno was a significant vector for disease? So we're still teasing this idea out, but I think this is going to become a big part of DayZ. Not an overt mechanic like being shot or falling off a ladder, but it will be that background tension that I think is going to become that silent antagonist that will push people to group together or just get a really good strategy. And bad food as well is something I've talked about on the forums. Yeah, so don't step in the poo. I'm going to cop a lot of flack for that. So, new content. This is something we really want to bring with Standalone, because it's really important to us that we put enough in the standalone that we've produced a fair product. So not only do we have to deal with the hacking, the duping, etc., but we need to have enough new in there. It's not a priority, and the reason I say that is because it's a separate kind of little cells that are happening around it. So an example being setting up this little cell to go through and make all the buildings in Chernobyl enterable. So they obviously work through that one by one by one. We're not going to delay the standalone to have that all done, but as they complete buildings, they get rolled out, and that's the approach we're taking with it. So I provided a couple of examples there. Household type weapons is a big focus. We've been looking at things like bow and arrow. That does require a little bit of code work. Crafting equipment, so I use crafting gingerly like I did at REST, because it does have a lot of connotations. We want it to be authentic. So someone just the other day said on the forums, you should be able to splint. In fact, I think Yahtzee put this very eloquently in his review. Why the hell can't you make a splint out of wood and bandages? We've also talked about a lot of new animations. I talked with Stefan and Lucas at our company about introducing a whole new animation tree for injured players. So yeah, you might treat your injury, but you actually have to get it properly dealt to, and otherwise you'll be limping along. So those are still ideas we're teasing with at the moment, and they'll just be rolled out in the standalone as they're done. And the new zombie models is another thing that's already underway. That will be in the standalone itself. They are kind of a priority now because of the optimization requirements. Chernobyl Plus, it's done. We've got new towns, facilities, balancing of water fountains, many more enterable buildings. I'll have some pictures on the Tumblr very soon of some of those, maybe even a video or a little interview with some of our artists that will do a little bit of an explore of Chernobyl Plus. Unfortunately, our two developers of Chernobyl Plus are still in prison in Greece. I won't talk any more about that. BI's made statements about that, but Ivan and Maxwell are actually the two guys who did this. So with them being away, it's been very difficult for me to do exports of this, but we're making do as best as we can. New crossbow, which I snuck in the picture before, melee and items, those things have been done as well. Some of those may come out in the mod if we get the community involved in helping to push that out. So vehicle development. I talked a lot about player construction. We have had to scale back our ambitious design requirements for November, December release. And that is so that we can focus the time on providing a polished product. However, vehicles are something that there's a lot of tech already implemented in the mod, and there's a lot more that we can use in the engine. So, and there's a lot we can already do in terms of having sort of this vehicle customization. And I guess to provide a bit of a thought picture, I see it as being, like I said here, so this is a precursor to our more complex player construction. So we want to perfect the simple. We want to have it so that you can go around and scavenge whatever parts you can find on vehicles. Maybe you find an engine in a smaller car, or parts for an engine. You can use those, but it'll have a lesser effect, and you combine different parts together to have different effects in different vehicles. We want to really have it so that players can find different parts and create different kinds of vehicles. The guys at BIS talk a lot about the battle bus. Like, everyone likes the battle bus. So we want to have that kind of ability to authentically create vehicles. And I think that's going to provide us that precursor. And it's something that we can achievably do in the short term before we get player construction done completely. I guess that's suitably vague, but I think we've kind of reached that point. It's so soon. Maybe, it's a little bit precious of us, but I want to be the first to implement some of these cool little ideas we've got, and it's not, it's only a couple of months away before we've got the standalone. But if you think I'm being too vague, you can call me on it in the Q&A, and you'll watch me squirm and get Timetable. So, bugs and happen plus stable build equals our alpha. I think probably every day someone posts on my Twitter, when is the standalone out? It has to be out before the end of the year. Not just because we've committed to it, but in order to achieve what we need to do. It has to be. Like, there's no, we hope it is, or whatever. It has to be out by the end of the year. And it's going to be cheap. We've decided that, you know, we don't need to sell a heap of units in order for us to be okay with where it's going. I think the more units we sell of it, the more ambitious we get, because the project has then better resources. So I like to think we're taking cautious and sensible steps at the moment. I don't really like cautious and sensible. You know, DayZ as a mod wasn't cautious and sensible. But our first few steps have to be there. And if we can achieve that in December, then in January and February we can start to do all the cool stuff. Yeah, move to a more ambitious feature. Oh, like beating my PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, more content. So after we've, you know, I'm talking about January, February here, I think we'll see a lot more content rolling out. And because of the way our pipeline is set up, we can roll that stuff out really fast. This is a big one. So there's been just really fantastic community engagement, and I think there's a couple of things that really excite me at the moment. One is how the private servers, the private hives are maturing as a concept. I'm really hoping that we get this central repository for the mod, and I can get like a Skype group going of some of these awesome people, like I think the Survive DayZ, I just sent the guy and read my contact details. I can go to them and say, here are these assets I'm implementing in the standalone. Here is the scripts that are behind it. Can you guys figure out how to put that into their mod? And then they can put it in and give it feedback. Maybe you could see that as being lazy, but I don't think I'm so awesome that I can work on the mod and the standalone at the same time. So why don't me and these guys who are doing this awesome work talk together and try and find some kind of synergy. So Matt Lightfoot at the moment, our production guy, is working with these people, and I really hope that very soon we're going to get a central repository that I can upload all the stuff into, and we can start seeing something happen quick. And then people will stop bugging me about patch 1.7.3. Really want to get into supporting events, look at APIs, having community localization, those kinds of things. An example of an event is we're trialling a little bit of support within the mod for the Survivor games that are coming up, and I'm really excited about that. Really excited. I think that's going to be really cool. So there's going to be, if that works out, then that will provide a customized version of DayZ that's highly specialized about providing these kind of events that have a very, like a big, you know, production behind them and are designed for a large amount of viewers and esports and stuff like that. So, I hope I haven't talked too long. It's really hard for me to get a perspective on what people want to know because I've been living and breathing it, and I have to confess, certainly the last month hasn't been super pleasant, and I think at times, probably the whole time, I wouldn't even call it really fun. There's a lot of pressure that comes through with it. You spend a lot of time, you think, man, when we release the standalone, is anybody going to buy it? And then other times I think, yeah, heaps of people will. And I think the most important thing, and where I've reached at this point, is that we just have to make the game. That's the important thing. And if we screw this up, we've got no one to blame but us, because we have the support from, like, you know, from Valve, we have the support from, you know, people like CCP and, you know, KSP, and all these people are supporting us, and we've had tremendous community support. So, you know, I included Yahtzee's quote there. I really like that. You know, DayZ, at best, unreasonably crude. That should be the box art, really, right there. And hopefully the standalone will live up to that expectation. So, you know, I guess we'll end my little verbal diarrhea there and move on to the Q&A. But yeah, thanks very much for listening and your guys' support.
There's a panic, excellent. Right, who are we looking to for the first question? I'm looking for our volunteers. Here we go. Come on, hands hands up, guys, if you want to ask a question. One over here, perhaps.
Valve, did you enjoy working with them?
So again?
Working with Valve, did you enjoy?
Working with, sorry?
Valve.
Valve.
Oh, Valve. Yeah, like when I was at PAX, I got to talk to Chet, and that was like a real highlight. Like I hope to get a chance to talk to him here. They've just been really supportive, just incredibly supportive, really. It's actually quite humbling, you know, and chatting to Notch as well.